Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our forum today. So we're here today to discuss a critical issue, world hunger and malnutrition. Before we dive into the discussion, let me introduce the panelists we have for our forum today. Firstly, we have Yee Rou Qian as the first panelist. Please introduce yourself, Rou Qian.
A very good morning to everyone. So I'm Yee Rou Qian. I'm currently a university student. My metric number is A192007.
All right, thank you, Rou Qian. Moving on, we have Li Xing as the second panelist. Please introduce yourself, Xing.
Good morning and good to everyone. My name is Lee Si-in with my metric number A197133. I'm currently a university student.
All right, thank you, Xing. Last but not least, we have Goh Wen Xin as the third panelist. Welcome and please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Goh Wen Xin with matrix number A196110, third panelist of this forum. Glad to be here this morning.
Okay, thank you, Wenxing. Okay, hi everyone. Once again, greetings to all. My name is Ke Jie, and I'm the moderator for today's forum. I'm a first-year university student with the matrix number A197526. So without further ado, let's take a moment to understand our topic today. So imagine starting your day with an empty stomach, feeling uncertain when your next meal will come. So this is the reality faced by millions of people around the world nowadays. So before I continue, what does it mean by world hunger and malnutrition? So to start off, world hunger refers to the persistent lack of access to sufficient food, while malnutrition occurs only when one's diet intake is lacking essential nutrients, which will then thereby lead to issues such as stunted growth. So despite the world is getting more advanced day by day, it's surprising to see how these issues, hunger and malnutrition, persist and are often overlooked by society. And this is not just a small issue, as according to my research from the source of UNFAO, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, there are approximately 690 million people who were affected by this chronic hunger in 2019. And this is really disheartening to see millions of people who continue to suffer world hunger and malnutrition. While many of us tend to take this issue lightly, as we may not personally experience these challenges in our daily lives. However, little do you know that these problems can lead to far-reaching consequences on not only individuals, but societies and global stability. Now that we have a brief introduction to the issue at hand, I would like to pass the floor to our panelists to discuss the factors contributing to this problem. So to start off, based on research that I've come across with, is from the source of the World Bank, and there are 9 out of 10 people living in extreme poverty concentrated in Africa and Asia. So hereby it highlights how poverty limits people's ability to access nutritious food consistently, which then leads to world hunger and malnutrition. So now panelist one, what are your thoughts regarding the statement that I've mentioned earlier? And do you agree with the fact that poverty is one of the most crucial factors that lead to world hunger and malnutrition?
Yes, indeed, I agree with that statement. As far as I'm concerned, poverty is one of the primary underlying causes of hunger. When individuals or households lack sufficient financial resources, they struggle to afford an adequate and nutritious diet. This leads to a reliance on cheaper, energy dense, but nutrient poor foods. Poverty limits access to food, clean water, sanitation, and healthcare, increasing the risk of malnutrition and hunger. Individuals living in poverty often experience chronic food insecurity. That's my point of view. Maybe we can hear from the other panelists as well.
Thank you, panelist one. In my point of view, I must admit that poverty stated from panelist one is one of the causes of global hunger and malnutrition. I found that not every person living in poverty faces chronic hunger, but almost all people facing chronic hunger are living in poverty. Poverty significantly increases the risk of experiencing food insecurity. Thus, many people living in poverty relies on agriculture and natural resources for their livelihood. However, climate change impacts can harm agriculture productivity and lead to global hunger. As a panelist, I would like to contribute to the discussion on why climate change is a driver of world hunger and malnutrition. Climate change is generally defined as a significant variation of average weather conditions such as temperature and rainfall in a specific region over a long period of time. As rising of global temperature and sea levels lead to heat wave, drought, floods, cyclones, and wildfires, Increasing in the number and severity of climate disaster affects food security. Groups of people suffering from starvation, particularly affected by climate change. Without access to adequate and healthy food, people are likely to be hungry, undernourished, and other nutrition-related health problems. That's all from my opinion. I have no further points to add on at this time. How about another panelist's opinion about this issue?
Thank you, panelist 1 and panelist 2, for contributing your opinions. So I totally agree with what panelist 1 had mentioned just now, that poverty is actually one of the factor that contribute to global hunger and malnutrition problem. As we know that people nowadays are facing financial issues to get high quality food, and not to mention that people from low or middle income countries need to get sufficient food. And for the points that panelists 2 had mentioned just now, we also know that climate change is the main contributor to the agricultural activity and food production. So this is one of the points that we have to consider that will affect malnutrition problem. However, for me, I would like to share another hidden factor that could also bring up malnutrition and global food hunger problem, which is the global food loss and food waste. So I could say that many people tend to underexamine the impacts of food loss and food waste on the nation's food access and food availability. But based on the research from FAO, many professionals found that food loss and food waste at different stages actually will indirectly affect the global food hunger and even worsen the malnutrition problem. So I would like to discuss more about this in a short while. Thank you.
Thank you all, and I appreciate your points of view regarding this issue. So to sum up, I agree with panelist 1, who mentioned that poverty is the main factor contributing to world hunger and malnutrition, especially the part where we know that those will come from low-income households, they will struggle in finding nutritious food. To support your point, hereby, I want to add on, it's very common to see nowadays that low-income families, they all usually dilute their baby formulas and stuff before feeding their babies in order to save money, right? So little did they know that this will then lead to the baby suffering from malnutrition. By that, I agree with panelist 1 to a certain extent. Next, we have panelist 2, who suggested that climate change also plays a significant role in contributing to world hunger and malnutrition. From what I've understood, it is climate change has indirectly affected world hunger and malnutrition, such as climate change will first affect agriculture and food production. In terms, it poses a threat to food security, and it also limits one's access to nutritious food. Then lastly, we have our panelist 3, who also agrees that with both panelists 1 and 2's opinions, but then states another hidden factor, which is the food waste and food loss, which will lead to the issues stated above. So I support the fact that you have illustrated the linkage between food loss, food waste, and world hunger, as these sources of wastage will contribute to food insecurity because more food is needed to feed the population. Okay, Deborah, is there anything you guys would like to add on to support your points?
Yes, I would like to further elaborate on my stand. So, according to Concern Worldwide US, in a situation of low supply and high demand, the human cost of a food shortage will fall on this overlap, leaving those at the back of the queue with few options. Those escaping the civil conflict in South Sudan have described eating water lilies for survival, while in regions of Haiti where food is scarce, bonbonne, which I'm not sure whether you guys heard before, it is a type of biscuit made with a special salt, soil, fat, and water, are a common dish among the residents there. And finally, the pastoralists in drought-stricken northern Kenya, they simmer animal hides as their food. Even in less dire circumstances, those with the fewest resources are more likely to lack a well-balanced diet and essential nutrients, relying predominantly on corn as their food source. As the poor have no access to water, sanitation, and essential health services, they may be susceptible to diarrhea and other waterborne diseases that prevent them from obtaining these nutrients, and because they reside in an area with inadequate sanitation and poor hygiene. In multiple ways, I think that ensuring drinking and cleansing water are not contaminated can save a life. Similarly, healthcare services are necessary to end starvation. This is especially true for women and children, who typically they do not receive adequate medical care or nutritional evaluations during their crucial life stages. Now I will talk a bit more on the relationship between extreme poverty and hunger. So, according to Compassion Organization, the World Bank uses less than $2.15 per day as the international poverty limit and also as the economic definition of poverty. Families residing below the international poverty line are frequently unable to survive due to limited access to food. Even when food is readily available and as easily accessible, it is not always of the healthful variety necessary for a balanced diet. About 45% of child fatalities are associated with malnutrition. The majority of these deaths occur in countries with low and middle incomes. Yeah, I think that's enough of my input. Anything would I like to be added on by other panelists?
Thank you, panelist one. You are absolutely right. That is exactly how I feel. Apart from that, I also want to add on climate change is another factor that accelerates global hunger and malnutrition. I would like to discuss how does climate change impact agriculture and food system can lead to global hunger and malnutrition. Allow me to share more key points on this issue. Based on my research, agriculture is very sensitive to weather. It relies heavily on land, water, and other natural resources that climate affects. Changes in temperature and rainfall are leading to longer growing season. A longer growing season can have negative impacts for raising food. Some farmers need to provide more irrigation over longer and hotter growing season. Besides, I discovered that climate change can also increase threats of wildfires. Wildfires pose major risks to farmlands. Why I say so? This is because temperature and precipitation changes will be very likely, expanding the occurrence and range of insects, weeds, and disease. This condition will lead to a greater need for weed and pest control. Most importantly, it will reduce crops, nutritional value of food, and affect food storage. People lose food supply because of climate change and lead to starvation. Up to this point, I have conveyed all the information I intended to share. How about different opinions from another panelist?
Thank you, panelists too. So now I want to discuss more about the relationship between global food loss and food waste and the global food hunger and malnutrition problem. So before this, please allow me to clarify two different things, which are food loss and food waste. So basically, food loss is something that is lost during processing or post-harvesting level, usually in developing countries. Maybe there are lack of good infrastructure, maybe lack of adequate transport system, technology, or storage. And meanwhile, food waste usually can be seen in developed countries due to poor human practices, such as people tossing out food at home and leftover foods at restaurants. So based on my findings, the World Research Institute shows that 1/3 of global food production is wasted each year, and that's 4 times it would take to relieve undernutrition worldwide. That's pretty incredible. This means that although our food system is supplying sufficient food to feed the population, but food waste and food loss still increase the demand for food supply. So try to imagine how about people from low or middle income countries get access to food supply in such conditions when demands for food keeps on increasing. And furthermore, low and middle income countries are overall at much higher risk for food loss because they are lack of post-harvest preservation techniques. So let me give an example. Maybe in South Sudan, harvest of mangoes may be harvested in 2 months, but without a way to preserve them through a year, maybe half of them is lost. So these examples can clearly show that how food loss and food waste bring significant impact on the nation's food access and availability. Yeah, so that's all from me.
Okay, thank you all for sharing your insights regarding this issue. So I believe that we have discussed enough on how each factor contributes to this issue. And since every problem has its solution, so now let's talk about some of the interventions and solutions which can help to break the cycle. Starting from panelist one, can you suggest some effective strategies or interventions for this issue?
Yes, I've done some research from the Global Food Policy Report 2023. So there are 5 aspects that we can dive into in solving this problem. The first one will be income and livelihoods, promoting inclusive economic growth, employment creation, enhancing agricultural productivity, and also supporting small-scale farmers are important for us to tackle this issue. And moving on will be from nutrition education and behavior change. Addressing malnutrition requires nutrition education, good eating, and awareness. Educating people about dietary choices improves their nutrition status. The third one will be access to healthcare and basic services. Addressing malnutrition requires better access to healthcare, clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Clean water and sanitation reduce malnutrition-related diseases, while improved healthcare allows early detection and treatment. Further on, increased rural poverty and malnutrition statistics for use in policy is also equivalently important as well. A working committee to suggest improvements, especially to disaggregated rural and subnational statistics, could be a start. Promote private sector and hybrid public-private rural development investments to reduce rural poverty and malnutrition also can be done. Finally, I think that the Global Bioeconomy Council could help in integrating natural resource and other sector challenges with agricultural production and agri-food systems to meet the rural needs. Yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you, Panelist 1. I totally agree with the opinion that comes from Panelist 1. In addition to overcoming poverty, there are some innovative solutions that can enhance climate resilience in farming and food system, while also reducing global hunger and malnutrition. In my opinion, there are some innovative solutions that can help to enhance climate resilience in farming. Activities that improve soil, plant, and animal health can improve resilience to climate change. Regenerative agriculture practice, such as no-till cultivation, not burning stubbles, and planting cover crops, can ensure that plants and soils are in the best condition to tolerate drought and erratic rainfall. Let me take an example. The majority of people, such as concerned worldwide organizations, work with rural communities to promote climate smart agriculture, which is an approach that helps families to adapt better crops growing techniques and soil improvement practice in response to the unpredictable climate. Aside from this, I have found that partnership between the private sector, NGOs, and local communities come up with multiple products and relevant services to increase climate resilience for rural communities. This product and service can, for example, provide weather information to farmers, access to affordable equipment and farm products at a fair market price. Lastly, cutting-edge adaptation technology, such as solar power irrigation system from social entrepreneurs and multinational companies, have invested in their development to build climate resilience. That's all from me. Let us consider alternative perspective comes from another panelist. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists too. So I have found some collaborative efforts that have been done to reduce food loss and food waste in order to end global food hunger. So one of the examples is the introduction of the International Day of Awareness of Food Waste and Food Loss by FAO. So if given this chance, I definitely will join this program and support this program, because this is a golden opportunity to call to actions to both public and private sectors to cut food loss and food waste in order to support food security and nutrition. So this International Day is introduced to promote public mindset that our food systems cannot be resilient if they are not sustainable. So what FAO is trying to do is they are trying to focus on adoption of integrated approaches which are designed to reduce food waste and food loss. And other than that, I think that policy implementation and law enforcement are also very effective in reducing food waste. So in my opinion, I think that environmental organizations and consumer associations should collaborate together to improve consumers' behavior in terms of handling food waste. So by improving consumers' awareness about how their choices and behaviors contribute to food loss is therefore a key to help people to make informed choices each day. Okay, so I've shared some collaborative efforts done, right? So now let us discuss more about the technology part. As we know that advancement in technology creates innovation, which can also help in reducing food waste. So one of the innovations that I want to share is the shelf life extension technologies, which is done by the Uphill Sciences company. So they produce tasteless edible coating from plant matter, which allow perishable foods to last longer. So this innovation not only slow down the spoiling process of fresh foods, but also minimize the disposal of spoiled foods. So as we know that recently, fresh cut fruits and vegetables have gained much more attention in worldwide due to serious concern on public health, maybe due to foodborne outbreaks, owing to inappropriate handling and preservation of fresh cut fruits and vegetables. So I think that this innovation is very beneficial to them. And another interesting innovation that I want to share is the upcycling method, which surplus food or byproduct of food production is converted to valuable ingredients for another products. So I think that upcycling method is actually a growing trend in the food industry, which shows efforts from different authorities to reduce food waste. And upcycling method is also have been successfully proved by some industries to mitigate the ill effects of food waste. So let me give an example. In 2021, Nestle Australia have launched a carbonated soft drink which named Nescafe Native Cascara, which they use cascara, the husk of the coffee berry fruit, which is discarded in coffee production. So these examples can clearly show that upcycling method is absolutely a great innovation in reducing food waste. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Once again, thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts. So I agree with panelist one, as you have mentioned that some of strategies that can be done to address these issues, such as social protection programs to assist those who are in need. I personally really support the idea of promoting nutrition education, as I believe that education is one of the key to help one in reducing poverty and spread awareness about this issue. And therefore, this is able to change one's life. So I really like that idea. So on the other hand, panelists do also mention that some innovative strategy solutions such as developments of technology and fostering partnerships between the private sector and NGOs to address these challenges effectively. That's very true. Since we're living in an era where technology is advancing at an unprecedented rate, we should really make good use of these developments such as climate smart agriculture, which has been mentioned earlier. This can help to enhance climate resilience in farming and food systems. Last but not least, for panelist three, I really like the idea of the upcycling method. Okay, it's very interesting that you brought up. So given the example you have given just now, I have another example that I would like to add on. It's the chia smash. It is a delicious jam made from upcycled fruits, and it's packed with nutritious superfood. So this does not only help to tackle food waste, but it also offers consumers a more unique and sustainable food product that can be enjoyed like guilt-free. So in a nutshell, world hunger and malnutrition pose a threat and have profound impacts on individuals from all walks of life, societies, and even global stability. So in the discussion, we have gained valuable insights regarding the contributing factors to these issues such as poverty, climate change, and food waste. So we all have come to an agreement, right? So that these factors are equally significant in sustaining these issues. As the saying goes by, there's a remedy for every challenge. Governmental and non-governmental organizations, alongside individuals, all play significant roles in breaking the cycle of hunger and malnutrition. I believe that by working together, we can strive towards a world where no one else suffers from world hunger and malnutrition, fostering a more just, healthy, and prosperous future for all. With that, our forum comes to an end. Thank you and have a nice day.